Mark Rogers TV, Ohio State edition, getting you set for the Fiesta Bowl, of course, on New Year's Eve with Ohio State at number 3 taking on Clemson. Number 2, we bring in Brandon Zimmerman from the Buckeye Battle Cry to start to grind through the nuts and the bolts, Brandon. I think this is the time when we can talk about all the psychological warfare and all of that. We can kind of put that aside, and we're going to hone in on matchups, offense, defense, special teams, and we'll get right to it. Always appreciate you coming on. Deshaun Watson, he's the guy that comes to mind first and foremost on the minds of Buckeye fans in regards to the keys to victory. So he did throw 15 interceptions this year, but in watching him play a number of times this season, just so much thrown on him from an offensive standpoint for this team. Didn't run as much as he has in previous seasons, but he ran when he needed to against the better teams, i.e. Louisville and Florida State. Obviously, he is kind of the enemy number one for the Buckeyes defense.
Yeah, I mean, Watson is he's who he is. I mean, he is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. So he's going up against a very tough secondary. I think that's kind of the Buckeyes' strength going into this game is, they've got 3 guys back there that are potential first-rounders in Conley and Lattimore and Hooker. Damon Webb's been playing great. So, I mean, it's going to be a battle of strengths there. Watson is going to do his thing. The Buckeyes haven't faced anyone even close to being as good as him. The only thing close was Mayfield, as far as somebody that can throw the ball and run the ball. Even though Watson hasn't ran the ball, he has shown that he can still do it. He's proved over the past couple of years that he's a big running threat. So obviously any team that has a dual threat quarterback like Watson, they're going to try to limit his runs as much as possible if the passing game is working and the running game is working without it. That's what the Buckeyes tried to do with Barrett early on. It's just they were not able to get that passing game going like Clemson can. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to go back to how they kind of played against Mayfield, where they limited him running the ball, force him to make some throws. And I think Watson's a lot better than Mayfield is. So, I mean, this is going to be the toughest test for the Buckeye secondary.
So the receiving core, I think it might be the best in the nation. It is extremely deep. And, of course, Mike Williams is the highlight guy, and he's a guy that didn't even suit up for the national championship game last year, and he entered the season as the number 1 receiver on the depth chart. Got hurt in the first game in 2015, missed the entire season, recovered from the neck injury, and he was just spectacular this year, especially in the second half of the season. Hunter Renfrow, Deion Kane, on down the line, Ray McLeod, and Artavis Scott, who caught 100 balls last year. So don't forget about him, but more from the slot, about an 8 to 10 yard guy per reception. They are just so deep at wide receiver. This is the fun matchup for me, just in regards to talent on talent, freakish athletes guarding and having to play against each other. The Ohio State secondary against this wide receiver core. Yeah,
I mean, Williams is the guy that everyone knows about, but I'm glad that you brought up Deion Kane and Artavis Scott. Like, those guys are really good wide receivers that just happen to play with probably the best wide receiver in college football. So this is going to be a great matchup, and it kind of works, where the Buckeyes all year have kind of rotated out their cornerbacks. At times we kind of questioned it, like, why is Garyon Conley sitting and Denzel Ward playing? So they've got 3 guys, and Garyon Conley, Lattimore, who are their 2 big name guys, and then Denzel Ward, who's played quite a bit of time this year. So they've got 3 guys that they're going to try to match up there. The biggest thing with the Buckeye secondary that's kind of killed them at a lot of points during this season is, those passes across the middle. And that's where I'm worried about Clemson kind of taking advantage of them. It's going to be interesting to see if the Buckeyes, develop some sort of scheme where it's not Damon Webb, one of their safeties, lined up one-on-one with the slot guy like they've done at many times this year, whereas maybe they're bringing in Ward to kind of play the slot. You might have to drop one of the linebackers out, maybe Worley sits or something. But, it's just, like you said, this Clemson wide receiver core is just amazing. And I wish the JT Barrett had some of these guys out there to throw the ball to. But it's going to be fun because it's strength on strength. So,
yeah, I thought Texas A&M was the best in the business coming into the season, but these guys surpassed the Aggies group for sure. I think it's the best group in the nation, and what a matchup against the Ohio State secondary. Under that Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette line was Wayne Gallman last year. He had a big season, about 1,500 yards, and really tore up Oklahoma in the semifinal game. Tough sledding against Alabama in the title game, as every running back in the nation endured, although he got free out of the backfield for some pass receptions. If you look at the game log from this year, came out of the chute against a very tough Auburn defensive front, ran for 123 yards, had a bit of a midseason slump. He also got nicked up a little bit, came on down the stretch with 100-yard games against Wake Forest and South Carolina. Virginia Tech held him down to, about 2.6 yards per carry. So Wayne Gallman, in contrast to the wide receivers where 5 or 6 guys can hurt you, he's the running game from the running back position for Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously stats-wise is not as good as he was last year, but he's still a great player, averaged over 5 yards per carry, finished with just over 1,000 total yards rushing. So, the defensive line's going to have to do a real good job of filling those holes and letting guys like Jerome Baker and Raekwon McMillan kind of focus on the passing game, because I think Buckeyes going into this game have to take their chances on the front four kind of shutting down Gallman and letting McMillan and Baker and Chris Worley kind of drop back in coverage and, try to stop the pass and force Clemson to run the ball. That's no slight against Gallman. I mean, I think he's a great guy back there, but as far as how Clemson's going to hurt you, I would rather Clemson try to pound the ball down the Buckeyes' throat than having Watson throwing the ball downfield to those great wide receivers. So it's the defensive line has shown that they're very good against the rush. I believe they're top 10 in yards given up rushing per game. So they just need to kind of focus on stopping that pass and expect those guys up front, Draymond Jones and Sam Hubbard, to kind of stop that run game.